Welcome to Authenticity Unleashed. I'm Pam Rader, your host, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. Happy New Year. It's the first show of 2025, and I am so grateful that we're coming up on a year of producing this podcast. I'm so thankful for each of you who has taken the time to listen, to learn, to send comments and questions. And today I want to dive into an area that I hope will help all of you think about the year ahead in a slightly different way. I hear this all the time. If I just make a little bit more money, I would be happier. If I got a raise at work, I'd be happier. If I was more appreciated at work in terms of getting more vacation or this or that, I'd be happier. We tend to measure wealth in terms of financial wealth. And when we do that, we are neglecting a great deal of the rest of our lives. And today we're going to dive into what it really means to be wealthy. And I think that the answer to this won't surprise you, but it will give you a cause to pause, a cause for reflection, a cause to maybe have a look at some areas of your life that you've been neglecting if you want to build true wealth in 2025. So as I said, most of us focus on financial success, kind of believing that it's the ultimate marker of fulfillment. But research actually shows otherwise. A study in 2010 by Princeton University found that happiness plateaus at an income of $75,000 annually. So if you make $75,000 a year, after that point, increased income actually has a very minimal impact on day-to-day emotional well-being. You see, once our basic needs are met, then it's just like, oh, I want more stuff. But that stuff doesn't really lead to happiness. So when we have our basic needs met and we can get by, the level of happiness that finances can provide kind of peters off. Yet, in the relentless pursuit of financial wealth, we often neglect the other forms of wealth that are actually critical if we want to live a fulfilled and joyful life. So in this episode, we're going to guide you through 5 kinds of wealth, why they matter, and how you can invest in each area to create a more balanced and abundant life. Now, let me first just share a little story. So in the past couple of years, I've always worked with coaches, really great coaches, mostly in the realms of personal development, yoga, and learning how to coach. But this last couple of years, I have been investing in business coaching so that I could learn to share with my clients, but also to scale my own businesses. Now, I've learned a lot about how to scale them, and I have been successful in many ways. But what I also learned was what it often takes to do that requires me to give up investing in other areas of my life. And those are not trades that I'm willing to make. Because I realized something from having had the foundation of spiritual practice and personal development and personal responsibility and relationship training, that when those areas of my life are filled up, I don't actually need a whole bunch more money. I want to enjoy my work and enjoy my life. And yes, I always want to be growing, but I need to balance that with all the areas of my life. Now, being in this environment, particularly with one coach I worked with, it was just go harder. This is separation season. When everybody else is resting, you should be working. Eventually, you're going to be able to buy back your time. But right now, you got to put the work in, the reps in, go. It was this sort of like bro dude, push, shove, go. And I was surrounded by it. So I bought into it. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not vilifying this. And there's some wisdom in that. Anything that you want to grow, you do need to invest in. You do need to be consistent. I get that. But I also believe that you can't lose sight of what actually matters most to you. And I'm not that connected to money as a motivator. I'm more connected to the state of my relationships, the state of my physical and spiritual health, to having time to myself. And so as I invested more and more and did all the reps and the work, and I saw some growth in my business, I also saw some other muscles atrophy, if you will. And it took some cleanup and some repair. I saw my mood go down. I felt myself be a little depressed and frustrated and feel overwhelmed and overworked. And it kind of sucked the joy out of my life for a period of time. And then I aligned myself with some new business coaches who were very much about, yeah, you can do that. And what if it could all feel good? What if you just took the next right step for you and you were consistent with that while you're nurturing these other areas of your life? And that was like a light bulb, but also a duh. Of course, I know that. And I would coach other people to do that. I hadn't realized that I had sort of lost myself and I lost the joy in a lot of what I was doing. It felt like a chore to do some of the work that I once loved. And the moment that I got back to, hey, this has to be aligned for me. And when I feel fulfilled in all the areas of my life, I got back to myself. My joy started to return. I felt more energized. I felt more excited about my business and the time I'm putting into it and learning new technologies. So I really want to share this with you today as a clear pathway for you to get back on track with what matters most to you, because maybe you, like a lot of people, have been chasing financial wealth and wondering why you're burnt out, you're overwhelmed, you're tired, you're depressed, you're comparing to other people and never feeling like you have enough. So let's dive in to the 5 kinds of wealth that really lead to a fulfilled life. Number 1, health wealth. Your health is the foundation of everything. Without your health, you lack the energy and the capacity to enjoy other aspects of your life. If you're feeling lethargic and tired and sore and, depressed, how much are you going to enjoy $100 million? Not very much. Studies show that regular physical activity reduces the risk of depression by 30%, and it improves your life expectancy by up to 7 years. So you can add 7 years of more joy and fulfillment. But only 23% of adults actually meet the recommended physical activity guidelines. So, for me, health has always been something that I've been invested in since a very young age. And I'll be honest, in my youth, it was all for vanity, and probably growing up in the 80s when everyone was so skinny, I had body dysmorphia, I'm sure. But eventually it just became such a habit that it's actually harder for me not to move my body than it is to move my body. And it's one habit that I am so grateful that I have committed to and maintained. I move my body every day, 7 days a week, no matter what. And my goal is that I sweat 7 days a week. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's a nice leisurely walk or some yin yoga, but I move my body every day. This is not news. This is not, earth shattering. But reality says if you're spending all your time sitting at a desk and hammering out deals and you got a headache and you go home and you lay on the couch and smoke a joint or drink a glass of wine and fall asleep watching Netflix, that your health is going to suffer. And if your health suffers, so does your mental health. If your mental health suffers, you're not enjoying the money that you're making from hammering out all those deals. You've got to have the capacity to enjoy your life. So ask yourself, are you investing enough time and effort into your health? And what's one small change that you can make to improve it? I mean, it could be really simple. Perhaps you just make it non-negotiable to go to bed at 9:30. Maybe you drink more water. Perhaps you add some more fruits or vegetables to your diet. And maybe you just decide, I'm going to get up and move every hour for 5 minutes. It could be any little investment, but whatever we focus on grows. And I'm inviting you to put a little bit of attention on your physical health, because without it, the rest of the places that you develop wealth will suffer. So health is the foundation. And we don't often think of that. We're so busy thinking if I get more money, I'll be happier. The reality is you'll still be sick and maybe overweight and maybe depressed if you don't look after your health. No amount of money is going to fix that. The second type of wealth, and this to me is so important, relationships. According to a Harvard study of adult development, good relationships are the key to happiness and longevity. Strong social connections not only improve your mental health, but they also reduce the risk of premature death by 50%. Did you hear that? If you have good relationships, you reduce your risk of premature death by 50%. Folks, that's a lot. Apparently, not having good relationships is fatal. So we want to develop good relationships. Loneliness has the same health risks as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness has the same health risks. Yet nearly 60% of adults report feeling lonely. We scroll social media, we watch Netflix, we get busy, we're doing things all the time, but we're not investing in our relationships. And I believe that there's a reason for this. I've seen this in myself. I've seen it in many other people. When we feel like we might be rejected or humiliated or disrespected, we move into a role of trying to protect ourselves. So we push people away, we isolate, we say we're independent, we can do it ourselves. But you can't be protected and connected. You're either protected or you're connected. And ideally, we would have respect and that would land somewhere in the middle. But most of us opt for self-protection. We get defensive, resistant, isolating. And then we say, I'm too busy to have relationships. No, what you are is lacking vulnerability and the courage to have deep conversations, which requires you get vulnerable, which is not protected. It involves some risk, folks. So if you really want to level up your sense of satisfaction in life, I would invite you to have a look at your relationships. Which relationships in your life bring you the most joy and support, and why? Which relationships in your life drain you, and why? Are there any relationships that need some attention? Are there relationships that need boundaries? And most of all, how are you developing your communication skills to deepen the connections in your relationships? That's what you're responsible for. We can blame other people for being the way they are and I don't trust them or this or that. The reality is you are 100% responsible for your emotions, for your results, and for your part in every relationship that you're in. So spend some time nurturing key relationships. Check in with your family and friends. Pick up the phone and call. Don't text. Pick up the phone and call and leave a message or invite someone over or for a walk. If there's someone that's a big pain in your ass and you haven't set boundaries, learn to set healthy boundaries so that you can love people more generously. If there are conflicts, apologize, forgive, create conversations that lead to collaboration and connection instead of rationalizations, justifications, and defenses for why the other person is wrong. Most relationship conflicts, are simple misunderstandings, like two people looking through different lenses. And if you have great communication skills and you're willing to be courageous enough to be vulnerable and say what's really going on for you, most relationship problems can be solved in one conversation. So take a look at your relationships. What's the state of them? If you're blaming everybody for your dissatisfaction, maybe it's time to have a look in the mirror. Ask yourself, what new skills do I need to learn? Maybe I need to learn to forgive, to let go. to have compassion or empathy. Maybe I need to learn to stop people pleasing and say no and create boundaries. Maybe I need to learn to listen better. Maybe I need to actually go first and reach out. What can you do to expand your relationship wealth? And I promise you, as your relationships get better, you feel more energized, more peaceful, you thrive. And when your relationships are better, you're likely out doing more stuff, so your health is better too. Let's look at number 3, time wealth. Time is the one resource we can never replenish. How we spend it determines the quality of our lives. Another study in 2019 by Harvard Business Review found that people who value time over money actually report greater happiness and life satisfaction. I'm one of those people. I love when I'm so grateful I get slow mornings. I wake up at 5:30, but I meditate, I journal, I have my coffee, I read 10 pages of a spiritual book and I contemplate it. And then I putter around before I sit down at my desk. And I have these slow, lovely mornings, and it's such a gift. I'm not running out the door, chasing the traffic lights to be somewhere on time. And I recognize what an incredible, beautiful gift that is. A lot of things that we do are spending time not aligned with our deepest values. We spend time, we say we want more intimacy, but we disconnect watching Netflix. We say we want to be in shape because we value our health, but we stay overtime at work, or we waste time scrolling social media. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. And if you really value your time, then your priorities need to change. So to schedule in health, to schedule in relationships, to schedule in, your personal development tells me that you value those things in your life. If it's not on your schedule, you don't value it. If you're not doing it regularly, you're just paying lip service to it. It's a nice to have for you. If you want to make the most of your time, schedule in the things that make you truly wealthy, like a gym workout or a yoga practice or a walk in nature. Schedule in a family dinner once a week to connect with your kids or your neighbors. Schedule in time for the things that matter most to you. And never use the excuse, I don't have time. No, what you don't have are priorities. You don't have your priorities in alignment with your values. That's it. We all have the same amount of time, folks. So get clear on what your values are, what matters most to you. Align with those values and spend time on what matters to you. Learn to say no. All y'all people pleasers out there saying yes to everything, stop it. Let go of commitments that drain your energy and don't serve your priorities. Say no. It's okay to say no. When you are saying no to something else, that is necessary for you to say yes to you. If you're a yes for going to the gym to work out or to move your body, then that means you're a no for scrolling Instagram for an hour. It also might mean that you're a no for going out for drinks and fries with acquaintances that you're not really aligned with. Be present. Practicing mindfulness can really help you enhance the quality of your time. When you're really present to what's here now, you'll realize how wealthy you truly are. To practice gratitude is a good use of your time. It helps you be in the sense of abundance right now, not later when you make more money, but right now with everything that you have. Now, the fourth kind of wealth, spiritual wealth. I love this one. I have a rich spiritual life and I've studied lots of different spiritual traditions, and I'm such a newbie at it, even though I've been studying for a long time. And it's just something that enriches my life so deeply. I'm not a religious person, but I have attended church in the past. I've learned a lot about that. I've studied yogic wisdom. I've studied Taoism. I've studied some Buddhism. I am deeply interested in indigenous rituals and ceremony and spirituality. I am deeply interested in our connection with Creator. However, that shows up for you, whatever spiritual health means to you, that's your jam, that's your business. It doesn't have to be a specific way. But spiritual wealth provides us a sense of purpose and connection to something greater than ourselves. It anchors us when things get challenging. People with a regular spiritual practice are almost always happier and more resilient than people without. That's been studied over and over again. So, some strategies that you can use are to create rituals, dedicate time daily for meditation or prayer or reflection. Again, a gratitude practice can shift your perspective and improve your well being. Seeking connection, spending time in nature, or engaging in acts of service to others, that can create a sense of belonging. And that all is an investment in your spiritual wealth. Now, where my spiritual wealth has come into play is that I'm fully aware that, the problem with problems, as Tony Robbins says, is that we think we shouldn't have them. I'm aware that obstacles are a part of our lives, and I don't try to resist them or repress them. Through my spiritual practices, I have the capacity to sit with the difficulties and ask, what is this trying to teach me? And to learn and to grow and expand from it. And without my spiritual practices, I think I'd be like most people in the population who say, this shouldn't be happening, and do my best to suppress it, move it out of the way, or climb over it and forget about it. I like to pull it apart and say, what's here for me? So that I don't have to keep learning the same lessons over and over again. So I think of investing in ritual and spiritual wealth as kind of an investment. It's like putting money in the spiritual bank for when the storms of life come, that you have a deep well of resources and resilience to tap into. So ask yourself, do you feel connected to something greater than yourself? Can you define it in some way? What's meaningful to you? And what spiritual practices could you help to deepen your sense of purpose? Maybe I smudge. I've been recently saging, smudging. I have prayer. I meditate, as I said, gratitude, all those kinds of things. But I also have a spiritual practice of asking my higher self or asking my guides, angels, and spirits what would be the highest call here. And so you can really be creative and get aligned with what's important to you. But perhaps if this is an area you've been resistant to, maybe you've had some religious trauma in your past, or the word God freaks you out, maybe part of the poverty that you've been experiencing or feeling is a lack of connection to something greater. Now, the fifth and maybe least important kind of wealth is financial wealth. Now, financial wealth is important for stability, but it's not the ultimate key to happiness. Beyond meeting your basic needs, as we said, its impact on your emotional well-being sort of diminishes. A study at Purdue University found that ideal income levels for life satisfaction globally range from $60,000 to $95,000. Chasing wealth beyond this can actually decrease happiness, often due to increased stress and time trade-offs. My grandmother used to say, how much life do you have to trade for that thing that you want? If I wanted a new pair of jeans, or I wanted whatever the new thing was as a teenager, I remember my grandmother saying to me, how much of your life do you have to trade for that? And I was like, what do you mean? Well, how much money do you make per hour? And at the time, I was working at a pizza place. I made like $4.25 an hour. And I think I wanted this dress. It was a jean dress that I wanted in the 80s, in the big hair metal era. I wanted this like acid wash jean dress. And back then it was like $100. And she asked me how much of my life I would have to trade for that dress. And I was like, what? I did the math and I was like, oh, that's a lot of hours to trade to get a thing. And it just changed my mind a little bit about how valuable my time is and what I would like to trade my life for. What's valuable to me. And sure, I like nice clothes and I like nice things, but I also know that the amount of happiness they bring is nothing compared to the amount of happiness that I get from my relationships, from being healthy, from having time, from being connected to God and the universe. And so maybe just consider how much you've been chasing things and then feeling dissatisfied once you got them. Now, perhaps for you, you've been chasing other people's dreams. You've been chasing what other people have. We become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. Maybe you work with some people who drive nicer cars than you or have bigger houses or they have an extra cabin or they've got this or that. And you start comparing. And you think you should have those things to belong. And so you start chasing them and sacrificing the other areas in your life. And you're left feeling empty. This is why it's really important for you to check in. Are my financial goals aligned with my values, with what matters most to me? I don't need to have the same values as the guy who's out there making $100 million and thinking he's changing the world and telling you that this is the way that it is. Good for him. That's awesome. And maybe my values are not the same. I don't need to make him wrong, but I need to true up with what's real for me and be unapologetic about that. And then start to align my spending, my budgeting, my finances with what matters most to me. Like maybe seeing the world matters more to you than owning a home. Maybe that's true, but society would tell you you should own a home. Like, check into that. What matters most to you? So, I could tell you to budget wisely and save and all of that. But what I would actually say is for me, like financial wealth is the ability to give back. Like having enough that I can be generous with other people, that I can give back a little bit, that feels extremely wealthy to me. Even if it's just a little bit here and there that I can give back or be of service or help out in some way, that feels really abundant to me because we always have more than someone else. And if I can share what I have with others, I feel financially wealthy. So here's the final piece of this, the interconnectedness of all of these areas of wealth. One of the most important lessons through this conversation is understanding how these types of wealth interact. So, for example, if you nurture your health wealth, that improves time wealth by boosting your energy, while spiritual wealth enhances relationships through greater compassion and presence. And financial wealth, when it's aligned with your values, can support your health, time, and relationships. So for me, building financial wealth has to be related to me getting more time, more space for health, more time for studying spirituality, more time for my relationships. And I think that when we look at the interconnectedness of this, instead of trying to scale your business or get that raise, to take a really honest look at your life and say, which are the areas that I have been ignoring, that I've been putting no investment into, because what I focus on grows, but what I don't focus on diminishes. What areas, if you're really truthful with yourself, need your attention and energy this year? And rather than setting a specific financial goal, the financial advisors are probably going to hate me for saying this, but rather than setting a specific financial goal, why don't you look at like whole life health, all the areas, and ask yourself, what's one thing I could do in the areas I've been ignoring to feel more wealthy in that area? And then notice if your level of happiness goes up, if your level of fulfillment increases. Because that's what I would wish for each and every one of you, that your level of happiness and fulfillment would go up. And the more honest you are with yourself, the more authentic you are about how you live your life and living your values, the happier you're going to be. So that's what I have for you today. If you are interested in learning more about the work that I do or the work that we share through Shift Labs, please check out pamrader.com or shiftlabs.ca. And I would invite you to consider, if you have been feeling not so aligned, perhaps working with a coach could help you develop more wealth in all areas of your life. If you're looking for a big change, I've got a program that's 16 weeks coaching certification program that will teach you how to tap into the ability to earn unlimited income, to build the time wealth, the relationship wealth, the spiritual wealth, the health wealth into your life and career. So if you're looking to make a big change and you want to be in charge of your life, become the catalyst. 16-week coaching certification starts March 21st. And if you're curious, book a call. I'd be happy to talk with you. I'd love to help you align your best life. Until next time, I hope you keep unleashing your most authentic self.